You like it?
I
We're
do.
cooking. We're letting it cook right now.
I think it looks good.
Don't lie to me, dude.
I'm not.
It's still in the gestation phase. It's like saying that's like saying an unborn chicken looks good. It's like saying just like an embryonic chicken yolk looks good. It's not a full hen yet. Let it become a hen.
I guess it looks bad. I don't know what you want.
2, 3, 4.
These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that pops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners, Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners.
Yum, yum.
Oscar Wieners.
Welcome to Oscar Wieners,
Indeed.
the only show on the internet where Hollywood's biggest night better keep my wife's name out of its fucking mouth, dude.
Where is this animosity coming from? What's gotten into you?
We're covering the year of the slap, baby. The
This
Will
is the year of
Smith
the slap?
Chris Rock slap-a-thon.
Oh, I didn't realize. Hang on.
Crush those numbers for a second.
No, I respectfully disagree. Isn't that everything everywhere?
No, it's the year before. That time is an illusion at this point.
Oh.
The 2020s is just like a big fucking haze where everything is the same. The only reason I know it's this year, I mean, I could easily look this up, but I know it's
But
this
you
year
know.
because Will Smith won Best Actor for King Richard that year, and it was like
Got
insane.
it.
He slaps Chris Rock, and then like commercial, come back to the commercial, he wins Best Actor, and he's like having a meltdown on stage, and everybody's like, I guess this is good. He's sort of an icon, but that was kind of crazy what he did.
I still agree. I'll go on record saying that's pretty fucking badass. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, don't hit somebody on stage on live television, but then he won like one of the most prestigious awards in cinema. Like 5 minutes after.
Yeah.
That kind of rips.
Yeah. I'm Joni Mitchell.
And I'm Will Smith.
I should have said I'm Chris Rock. No, I'm Michael Ezander, and this is a podcast where every week we
No, don't.
pick a Best Picture winner at random.
Yeah.
And we try to figure out if it's Best Picture worthy, and this week we're talking about the 2022 Best Picture winner, CODA,
Indeed.
directed by Sean Hayter, I'm going to say. Written and directed by Sean Hayter. Based on, I think it's a remake of a French film.
Yeah. Yeah. It sure is.
I don't know how that one is, but it's a remake. And it is set in Massachusetts. And it follows, what do we got? It follows Ruby, played by Amelia Jones, who is a CODA, a child of a deaf adult, but her whole family's deaf. She has father, mother, brother, all deaf. She is the one hearing person in her family, and it's kind of a slice of life sort of story about her dealing with being sort of the translator a lot of the time for her family, like sort of that burden. Her family feeling not a part of the community because they, can't really communicate with people.
And
like
then
they can
her
sign,
not
but they
feeling part of her family.
yes. And then it's also about her wanting to sing.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, we can kind of go through the plot. It's not like super complicated.
Yeah, it almost feels like a movie you've seen, but with the added element of deafness, which does I make it unique, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen this movie or no?
No, sir.
Gotcha.
I do have to confess something off the rip.
Here we go.
Actually, I have to ask you a question. So when you watched this, was there audio narration?
No.
Okay. So that's definitely my bad. I was like,
So they were the voice was describing like Ruby.
I'm seeing the opening crawl of the movie and it's going like developed by Universal Studios. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. An hour in, I'm like,
inclusive.
I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is a fun spin. Like it's like forcing it into like so we get this experience. That's pretty cool. It's pretty new. It's pretty innovative. And then I realized this is for blind people. If I was deaf, I couldn't hear this. I'm like, this.
Yes, that's what it's for. That's what it's for.
And then I thought, well, shame on the movie. Like, they really missed with that one. Not, oh, I fucked up and had something turned on that I shouldn't have. I had to Google, hey, what was CODA like in cinemas? I was like, are they reading shit out loud? And they were like, people on Reddit were like, no, they don't do that.
I mean, what is your, because I feel like my understanding of this movie before seeing it was that it was kind of mid, didn't necessarily deserve the ask, is sort of sentimental bullshit a little bit. Like I feel like that's kind of become its reputation a little bit.
I feel like we were walking into it with the same headspace, you and I, because I also had that impression, and I was primed to be. I try not to prime myself in any sort of. I try to go in completely neutral, as best I can.
Yeah.
But I will admit I was a little bit primed to be like, oh, people were a bit harsh on this because it won Best Picture. People are always too harsh on something if it won Best Picture because that means the movie that they like didn't win Best Picture. So I had the feeling this was going to be like a good movie that people hate on for really no reason. And it was good. It was fine. I don't get why people hate on it, but I did think it was like fine to good. It was a bit hallmarky. There is some hammy dialogue and acting. A lot of like repeatedly used tropes, like, oh, stern but fair teacher who becomes a mentor and father figure. And actually, it has one of my favorite tropes of teenager who like is into really obscure music for no reason.
Yeah, she listens to the Scruffs. Is that
the Shags?
The Shags.
Who are like an obscure band who became famous for being like
bad.
They're like famously bad,
like
but
three
divisive
sisters.
because people think that they're also like it's almost like so bad it's good and so bad it's bad.
It's like three sisters who like didn't know how to play instruments really, couldn't really sing, and yet they did.
Right.
I think it's like one of Kurt Cobain's favorite albums.
Right.
Which
No
is cool.
17-year-old has a record of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then fucking Miles, when he comes over to practice the song, he's like, "Oh, the Shags," and I'm like, "Fuck off, dude."
Never has happened in history. I'm sorry. Like I could just I could just feel the director like through that moment, and I didn't like that. So there are certain moments like that peppered into it, but then there are also like really sweet. Some people consider it hallmarky. Sometimes it is, but like also like really sweet moments and sincere moments that do land, I think.
I really like this movie. I think it's really good.
Oh, okay. How good? Like if you were on a desert island, would you take this thing with you? Like if I stranded you, if I shot you in both your knees and pushed you over and pantsed you and put you on a desert island with nothing to eat but scraps and
soy,
and just drink soy, and I gave you a few movies to pass the time, and CODA was lumped in there, would you be like, "Oh, sick, CODA"? Or would you be like, "Ah, I wish there"?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay,
It would make me feel good as I'm probably starving
that's
and
true.
dying of thirst.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Drink the soy.
I think this, like you said, it already. You mentioned all the tropes of the well-meaning teacher who's stern, blah blah blah. I do think this movie, when it's specific, it's like firing on all cylinders.
Agreed.
Like all the stuff about the parents trying to. I mean, the parents like. All right. So in this family, the father and the son. Ruby is in high school. I think she's a senior. She's a senior in high school. Her brother is maybe like 3 years older, 4 years older,
Yeah.
something like that. They all, excluding the mom, they all work on their father's boat with him. They're fishermen, fisher people.
Nice, good save.
And the plot, like the sort of B plot where it's like, all these fishermen in this kind of coastal Massachusetts town are selling their fish to like whoever the game fucking keeper, whatever the fucking guy they sell their fish to at the end of their catches. Like,
Yeah.
he's sort of ripping them off for their catch. Like their catch is worth like triple what they're getting paid for it. So Ruby convinces her dad, like, hey, you should like start your own thing, like where like a co-op where like all of the fishermen get together and sell their fish like themselves. And it's all profit. And all that stuff, like, I think it is kind of hallmarky of like, oh, like this kind of starting a small business sort of aspect of it. But it feels like I don't really see movies about fishermen. Last movie I saw about a fisherman was Manchester
by the Sea. Yeah.
Like that was 2016.
Right.
And I think it feels like, I don't know if Sean Hader is from Massachusetts. I'm gonna assume she is. Maybe that's why she like said it there. I don't know if she's like comes from like a fisherman family or anything, but like all that stuff feels very well observed. And
yeah, it did.
I don't know. It's like a texture that the movie that a worse version of this kind of movie wouldn't include.
I agree with that. It's I mean, even like in terms of like visuals and setting and pacing, like it's nice to take a break from a lot of like the internal struggles and go out like literally go out into the open ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It adds a nice little change of pace to it. It does eventually double back to like, oh, I'm juggling two things at once, and like I can't be a fisherman to my dad and also like go to music practice with my teacher. You know what I mean? And I got boy troubles. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
classic teenager juggling a bunch of stuff.
And there's that one point where the teacher, so the kind of chorus teacher who becomes like Ruby's sort of, I guess like vocal coach, as she's preparing to like sort of this audition for Berkeley, kind of towards the middle and end of the movie. What's his name?
Mr. V.
Mr. V, played by Eugenio Derbez. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize. There's even the scene where like Ruby's like, I have a lot going on, and she does. She's talking on the phone, and because like her parents can't commute, like the people who aren't deaf like don't understand sign language, and it's like her family only knows how to speak in sign language, and it's like she's like talking on the phone with people to try and help her family's business, and then like she has to fucking prepare to sing Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell. It's like, and then she's got this boy who's kind of an ass for a second, but he's ultimately kind of nice. But she says to her Mr. V, she's like, I have a lot going on. He's like, we all have a lot going on. He gestures to like his kids like toys strewn about, and I'm like, that's
like wait, what the
thing?
Well, it gets a little. I love that moment because that's the first. Actually, that's a genuinely good director's touch because up until that point, the audience has no idea like Mr. V has a family or children or any of that stuff, and we're almost like Ruby in that sense. And then it's like,
that's
oh
fair.
shit,
Yeah,
we
that's
pan
true.
to like baby toys. It's like, oh, I forgot Mr. V has stuff going on.
That's a good point. And I get Mr. V's lesson, but I'm a little bit like, okay, of all the things she has stacked on top of each other. Like, it's not that she's just helping her family with like this business, and like it's like she's helping her deaf family with this business, which adds like a whole extra layer. It's like I don't think it's exactly the same. I don't know.
See,
Like, give her a
weirdly,
break.
see, weirdly, and this almost has nothing to do with the movie, but I feel like I'm actually on Mr. V's side in this case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She dedicated her time. He's taking his time to help her. And of course, the fucking every time she goes to practice with him, her mom's like, "Oh, we have the news is here today to cover our story," and she's like, "Now, like, yeah, now. It's the same time as my vocal lesson."
Yeah. But I don't know,
Maybe.
like even the scene with the news thing, and like, you know, she's supposed to be translating for the news guy, and like she's supposed to be translating like what her parents are saying in sign language to this guy. And she's also like texting Mr. V on the phone, like like you like the way you just described it as like oh god, she has all this stuff going on. Like in another movie I'd be like, this is like a little bit silly, but like somehow the movie, I don't know what Sean Hayter did, but she pitches it at like just the right level where it's like, I buy this and I'm invested and I do feel for Ruby.
It's just so frustrating because I feel like so many of her problems could have been alleviated if she had just like been a better communicator. And I know that's a lot to ask for a teenager, and but if she was just like, "Mr. V, the news is at my house. I'm sorry, I had no idea they were coming, but my family literally cannot communicate with these people unless I'm present," I think he would understand. Instead, he's like, "Hey, where are you? You're late again." And she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm busy."
I mean, in Ruby's defense, Mr. V is like the kind of guy that's like, I don't want to hear, like, if she started explaining, he'd be like, I don't want to hear excuses. And it's like, well, just listen for a second.
It's because my excuse is pretty good.
The news was at my house.
My family is, we're losing money on this whole shipping thing, and we're trying to save an industry in our town.
Yeah.
Mr. V.
See, but I do think that to me, this is such a, I don't know how to say this, but it's just like the dynamic set up in this movie, just like the setup of like child of this deaf, you know, in this deaf family, or, you know, girl in this deaf family who is not deaf, wants to sing, and her parents or her family can't understand that because they can't hear it. It's like such a like simple but effective idea. You're like, oh my god,
is
that's
effective.
Like so. Immediately you have all this conflict and tension just like right off the bat that you can just work with. And it's like all that stuff of like her mom not understanding Ruby's desire to go to music school and be a singer. Like,
yeah,
you understand it from her mom's perspective, because it's like, well, yeah, she doesn't, like, she's never heard music. She like doesn't know. She can't understand. She doesn't get it because she can't get it.
She's never heard Beethoven's Fifth.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think you can hear like bass or whatever. Like that's why her dad listens to like rap music, like really loud, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. To the film's credit, that whole aspect that you just described is a great counterpart to the rest of the world, who are kind of like, Mr. V is emblematic of the rest of the world in this scenario. Like the rest of the world not understanding her family and deafness in general. So like they're kind of seen as other, but meanwhile, you know, to her family, they're like pursuing music. They're like, I mean, we don't really like, we'll support you, but like, we don't really know how to deal with. They're like, you know, this is more important because we can conceive of this. We can process and understand this. And the rest of the world thinks the same thing. They're like, your family can't run a fishing boat, like, because they can't communicate. Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, speaking to that though, this movie does such a good job. I could think of two moments, like, to both of your points of like, actually like giving a scene that like communicates that, like the movie's communicating that, like, you know, through dialogue and stuff, but also communicating it through like these really simple but effective scene premises, which is like, so in one, you got it's like people can't conceive of like, oh, why is it so hard for your family to like be fishermen like without you? Like that doesn't, I don't get it. And then you have the scene where Ruby doesn't go out with her brother and her dad on the boat.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, if she's not there, there's nobody to like hear the Coast Guard.
Right.
There's like all this shit where like if you can't, you have nobody who can like hear, it makes the job incredibly difficult. Like you can't do it really. Like it's,
I mean,
it's like
he should
illegal.
not have been out there.
No, I mean it's crazy, but it's like, and then there's the scene after the recital, the fucking choir
Performance
thing at the school. Yeah, the performance at the school, where like Mr. V meets Ruby's parents, and it's almost like for the first time Mr. V is like, oh yeah, I can't like communicate with them in the same way that I would, other parents. And it's like it's almost like he didn't realize. It wasn't, it's like he knew it, but he didn't know what it would actually be like. It's I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into that scene, but I don't know.
No, you're right. And that scene is portrayed as it's funny and awkward, and he tries to sign, like, Mr. V's a nice guy, and he really, all he wants to say is like, your daughter is really good at singing, and you should let
and
her
he says,
pursue
lick
that.
my butthole and dick.
Yeah, he says, suck my dick or something. And then she's like, Ruby's like, yeah, you just told my dad to suck your dick. That's good. That's good stuff. Those are the aspects that I think make this movie unique.
My experience watching this movie, though, like the first like 15 minutes, I think, again, I might be wrong, but I do think Sean Hayter is intentionally trying to make an audience. It's sort of like the Green Book thing, or like a lot of these movies that are about like they're for a specific, like this CODA feels a little bit like it's maybe it kind of walks a middle ground where it's like both for a deaf audience and a non-deaf audience, but like
right,
it feels like the first like 15 minutes of the movie Sean Hayter is trying to like get a non-deaf audience on board with this like deaf family. So like it feels like she over cranks it a little bit by making them like so relatable, where it's like, oh, the parents like fucking each other a lot, oh, the dad's farting a ton, the brother's on Tinder, and I'm like, and like all of them are like, yeah, oh, this girl, like the brother's like, this girl, she's fucking hot, and I'm like, what family is like this?
I had the same thought. I'm like, who's doing this?
But it eventually won me over. Like, I was sort of like, I like these guys. I think they're weird and quirky, but I'm into them.
Yeah, they are. They are weird and quirky, and I would argue that the film maybe goes out of its way to make them quirky. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing all the time. They do stand out, at least. I think they're different than a Hallmark movie family or something like that. Like, they do feel unique, and they do feel like their own people. Yeah, they got the dad farting all the time, and terrible sound effects too. Can't we like? I feel like if you're gonna add a fart, it's gotta be realistic. You gotta get in the studio and just like sound booth it. You know what I mean? You can't just use the fucking iMovie basic ass.
I agree.
Fart effect.
And actually, just to this movie, it doesn't look bad in that everything's in focus.
Whoa.
They used cameras that are obviously probably nice.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know, so many movies now just kind of like look flat. And I don't know if it's like, I don't know if this movie was shot on film, if it would look better, but it's like, even like the costuming, I'm like, this looks like you just got a shirt at like fucking Target and like distressed it a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't, the world of this movie doesn't really feel like lived in a lot of the ways like that movies now don't feel lived in, because like everything just is kind of like, I mean, maybe it's just like, oh, we don't have enough time to like be interesting. We just have to like do these setups and fucking make our day and get it over with. But like,
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think if they had gone that extra mile, it would have gone such a long way into making the characters feel fully realized and the world feel fully realized.
Yeah,
but it feels like something's missing, and I think that's the piece there.
Yeah,
that's what makes it a little Hallmarky.
It looks fun. Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. It looks, I'm sure people worked hard and whatever.
Yeah.
I think the performances are all good.
Yeah.
You got Troy Kotzer as Ruby's dad.
Yeah, he's good.
He's
Are
good.
they actually deaf?
Don't quote me on this, but I believe so.
I mean, Marley Matlin.
Yeah.
I think she also won The Apprentice.
I'm sorry.
Never mind. What part got you? Where did they get you?
Okay. The last 30 minutes of this movie has like 3 tear-jerky banger scenes. Well, maybe not 2 tear-jerky banger scenes and then one that's like just a great scene.
Yeah.
I'll go through them. We'll talk about
Go ahead. One of them is definitely... I had one. I guarantee you're going to touch on it.
Yeah. So the first one, I'm going to go in the order that they happen. So the first one...
Just spoilers ahead, by the way.
Spoilers ahead for CODA.
I mean, a little late, but...
The scene where Ruby is doing her performance with Miles. They're doing No Going Back by Marvin Gaye and I forget the other singer on that song, but
let's just say Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fresh off the Guts tour.
Right.
And the movie cuts, they're performing, sound cuts to Ruby's dad, and the sound drops out, and he just sort of, it's a really like beautiful subjective moment in a movie that is otherwise from Ruby's perspective of like, oh, here's like what it is like for him. And he has to look around a lot because he's like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how people feel about this. He sees like a girl like a few rows ahead, like crying. And he's like, oh, like Ruby's like good at this.
Yeah, they have no idea. They don't know. They're like, she could suck for all we know.
Yeah.
Like that, and that's also part of their issue that we didn't quite touch on, but like, they're not like crazy about her going to music school. They have no idea if she's good at it or not. You know what I mean?
I don't the mom and dad, don't they have like a conversation where it's like, we don't know if she's good?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I think they literally say
and it's
that.
an honest conversation.
Yeah.
They're like, how do we know if she's good?
Yeah. So I thought that scene was like just lovely.
Yeah.
And I think that's what convinces Ruby's dad to like kind of like basically the next scene, maybe like a couple minutes later, is nighttime. They got back home. Ruby's mom and sister go inside. Ruby's dad stays behind, and he's like just like stargazing. He's sitting in the bed of his truck like a fucking working class boy. Yeah. And then like Ruby comes up, and then her dad's like, "Can you tell me like, can you like sign me the song? And like sing it, and also sing it to me." Well, no, she doesn't sign it. He's like, "Can you sing the song?"
Yeah.
And then he puts his hand on her chest and like like kind of around her neck to like feel the vibrations of the song. And it is so profoundly moving.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, and like you just like see, I think like literally the next scene is like, isn't like the next scene them driving her to like the Berkeley audition, I think, or something? Or it's like,
believe so, yeah. They're pretty close in conjunction.
It's like her dad's convinced. He's like, yeah. And then this is the other scene that moved me. At the Berkeley audition. Ruby starts singing Both Sides Now. She forgets her sheet music, and these fucking Berkeley people are like, okay, amateur. And I'm like, literally, okay, eat a brick, dude.
You don't know what she's been through, man.
Yeah. She doesn't have sheet music. The piano player is like, yeah, I think I know it. And then like Mr. V is like, I can play it. And you're like, what the fuck's he doing here?
He just like enters from the back of the room.
Yeah. And then he plays it. She starts singing, but he's like, she's not doing well. She's too nervous. And he like stumbles the keys, and he's like, oh, sorry. Let's just take it from the top. And then he like looks at Ruby like, fucking time to fucking cook, girl. What are you doing?
Yeah. This is it.
So
let it out.
Then she starts singing. Her parents have snuck, because they're little bad boys and bad women. They sneak upstairs. to the balcony, and they're watching her performance. And she starts singing Both Sides Not by Joni Mitchell. Just one of the most beautiful songs ever written.
Yeah.
Right?
Great song.
Great song. And she sees them, and after she starts singing, she starts like, eventually she's like, oh, she starts signing it to her parents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this movie is cooking with so much gas. They're going to need the whole state of wherever, Massachusetts, to put it out.
Yeah.
I thought it was so beautiful. I know it's like really sentimental. It's kind of cheesy, but I just found it so earnest and moving.
So I do like that scene. And I just want to give a shout out to one character, because I do think the entire scene he is like the linchpin of this entire scene, because without him it all falls apart. And it's the one Berkeley judge who just like, as all this stuff is happening,
it's a very small moment.
It's so small. He just says, he just turns around and just goes, "What is happening?" And as a viewer, I'm like, that was it right there. That's at least the movie being a bit self-aware, because it is like, it's a little over the top. It is touching, it's moving, but like, it's one thing after another of like the teacher being like, "I can fill in," and then the family's
mustard,
like,
it's mayo, it's fucking sauerkraut, it's all these things on the sandwich.
It's an entire pizza just loaded on top.
See, but I love the moment too where that same guy, when she starts signing, I think he's like, "What is she fucking doing? This is already been a crazy audition, and it like started 5 seconds ago." But then when he sees her signing, he looks up in the balcony and he sees them and he's like, "Oh." And even I found that moving. He's like almost moved by her doing that, for obviously, like, he's like, "Oh, that's her family." And I'm just like, this is so lovely.
Yeah, it was nice. Also a low-key funny moment when Miles, her crush, is like, he's also doing the audition, and he's like right before her, and they run into each other, and she's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" He's like, "Oh, I just fucking choked." I sucked.
Like,
I was so bad. He's like, "I'm not going to Berkeley."
Yeah.
No, not even close. He's like, I'm gonna be a factory worker next year. Like, I'm done. I'm not doing fucking music. This is not for me.
The scene that the really sweet scene that we didn't talk about, but speaking of Miles, is I love, because they have to, so they have this like solo where they're performing No Going Back, just like them two, like duetting or whatever. And Miles comes over to her house, and he starts playing it on his guitar. And first they're looking at each other, and Ruby is like, "This is so weird." And he's like, "What if we go back to back?" And then they start singing it, and they're back to back, and they both have like little faces of like, "This is kind of hot and cool." And I'm like, this is so like adorable. Like, I don't know. It was just like such a sweet little cute moment between two.
Yeah, it is cute. It's nice. It's sincere. The movie it's a juggling act of trying not to overdo it with the sweetness.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it tips the scales a little bit, but overall it's nice. Everybody just... It's just nice. It's nice. Sometimes we can just have something that's nice and whatever. People like Hallmark movies. You know what? Hallmark movies aren't bad. I'll say it. No, they are.
Hallmark movies are great. You kind of know what you're getting.
Some of them are good. You know what it is? Sometimes you just need one. Is really all it is.
100%.
That's all it is.
Sometimes you just need a movie that isn't about doing temporal pincer movements or going into your daughter's fucking fifth dimensional bookcase.
Shout out to my Nolies out there.
Sometimes you see a fucking movie about characters who grow and change, and everybody's happy at the end.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that. And this was that, but a couple steps up.
Yeah. Good movie. I recommend it.
Good movie. Yeah, it was good.
Do you want to hear the other Best Picture winners? Do you have any final thoughts? You good?
Let's get to the heart of it. No, I'm good. I think I've said my piece. Let's get to the heart of why people actually don't like this movie.
Obviously, CODA wins Best Picture. We all know that we've talked about it for an hour.
This won Best Picture?
Yeah, that's why we're talking about it.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Next up, we have Kenneth Branagh, a legend.
Who?
Kenneth Branagh?
You're just saying fucking syllables to me. It's so over my head. I have no idea who this individual is.
Kenneth Branagh, dude.
Who?
Kenneth, dude.
Is this like, are you like accentuating a famous person's name? I have no idea who this
Kenny
is.
Branflake, dude.
Shut the fuck up. I swear to God, if you were next to me, I would strangle you. I don't know who this person is. Please elaborate and don't insult me. How about that?
He directed... No, he's in Tenet. He's the villain in Tenet. I'm not kidding. He's the villain in Tenet.
And he directed a film?
Yeah, he's a director. He's an actor. If you saw his face, you'd probably recognize him. He directed the first Thor. I'm not fucking kidding.
All right, I believe you. It's just like, this seems kind of obscure.
He's a
big, it's like fine to not know Kenneth.
He's a big Shakespeare guy. He's like
oh, now I remember. He's a Shakespeare guy. Man. I remember him from fucking Othello. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he do?
He wrote and directed Belfast. Ever heard of it?
Yes, but I don't know much about it.
I think it was like a pretty autobiographical movie for Kenneth. And it's about
sorry.
Buddy is a young boy on the cusp of adolescence whose life is filled with familial love, childhood hijinks, and a blossoming romance. Yet, with his beloved hometown caught up in increasing turmoil, his family faces a momentous choice. Hope the conflict will pass or leave everything they know behind for a new life.
When does this take place? And where? This is in Ireland? Is this Belfast? Okay.
Yeah. 60s maybe? Late 50s, early 60s, I want to say.
Okay.
I heard it was fine. I don't know.
Moving on. Shout out to Kenneth.
Next up, we have a fucking big pile of shit. A movie that sucks butts. Although, well, we could talk about it maybe for a second. It's Don't Look Up.
Wow. Okay, interesting.
Adam McKay.
I don't not like this movie.
I think it kind of stinks.
I've seen it.
I think it kind of stinks.
It's very heavy-handed, but like
heavy-handed.
It was fun. I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to be fun. Well, it's fun until the end, which, spoiler alert, like everybody does die. And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they all like hold hands and like die, just like are consumed in flames together.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty metal. I thought it was all right. I thought that was pretty good.
I don't know. Two astronomers go on a media tour to warn humankind of a planet-killing comet hurtling toward Earth. The response from a distracted world? Meh.
I
don't know.
Well,
I don't think it's that good, but whatever. What do I know? I just host a podcast.
Yeah, you do just host a podcast. It's not like it's not that merit. Like you don't have that much merit. I'm just one
of the four leading cultural critics of our time, but whatever.
Am I up there? It's you and me.
It's you and me.
Ebert and fucking who's the other guy?
I think Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh is up there.
All right, next up we have the international Best Picture winner, but also Best Picture nominee. Drive My Car.
Drive My Car?
Yes.
Sounds like a Guy Fieri hosted show.
Directed by, I'm going to mispronounce this and I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Ryusuke Hamaguchi. It's a Japanese movie. Cool. It's based on, I think, a Haruki Murakami short story.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I always meant to see it. I think it's on Max, but I got to get around to it.
Murakami's kind of my jam.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I read
one of his. I like his short stories, and then I read one of his books called "Killing Commendatore," and I thought it was fine.
That's a long one.
Yeah, it was long, and it wasn't really worth the amount of time I spent.
Yeah, I've only read Kafka on the Shore, and I thought it was fine. I want to read more of his stuff though.
So I'm sure this movie's fine.
No, I actually hear it's kind of a masterpiece. This is one of the movies where it's like, this is a masterpiece that maybe should have won Best Picture, but also it won Best International Film, so that's something.
Okay.
Yusuke Kafuku, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, a stage actor and director, still unable, after 2 years to cope with the loss of his beloved wife, accepts to direct Uncle Vanya at a theater festival in Hiroshima. There he meets Misaki, an introverted young woman appointed to drive his car. Title,
Okay.
In Between Rides, Secrets from the Past and Heartfelt Confessions will be unveiled.
That's a promise.
It's a very simple premise.
All right.
Yeah. It's 3 hours long. Not kidding.
Oh, Lord. That's fine.
Yeah.
I got
hear
time.
it. I hear it rocks. So
All right.
next up, we have Denis Villeneuve. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Villeneuve?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Again, I apologize. I'm so sorry.
Dune Man. Yeah,
It's Dune. I mean,
Yeah.
Dune was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
Dune. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to go down this? We've both. Are we going down the Dune trail?
Yeah, why not? I don't know. It's our
All
podcast.
right.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, that's true.
The Coda episode will be the longest one for some reason. Who cares?
Do you like Dune? Did you like the movie?
I don't really like this movie that much. I think it's kind of
I
boring.
also don't like it that much. It's incomplete. It's half of a story.
I will
And I
say
think that's honestly its biggest demerit, I would say.
yeah, it's all the setup and none of the payoff, and it sort of feels like a movie that's half-gassed. I will say Dune Part 2, I think kind of rocks. I don't
this
love
year.
it. I think it's
Sorry.
pretty great though.
Okay.
I think it'll probably also be nominated for Best Picture.
Well, that came out this year?
Yeah, I know.
That feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
God damn.
Tell me about it.
Okay.
I don't know. Should we go through the plot? Everybody's seen this movie.
What happens? They get it.
Paul Atreides, he's the fucking chosen one. House Atreides, fucking they fight the
Sand.
Harkonnens, yada
Yeah.
yada. The spice. The
No
fucking-
sandworms in this one. They make you wait.
Yeah, there's like one, I think, and then that's
Yeah,
it.
like at the end.
Yeah.
Dune, fine.
2.5 stars. Mid.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Can't
It
all
looks
be-
nice.
It does look nice. Can't all be hits. Hans Zimmer's score rocks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Next up, we have sorry, there's a million movies this year. Next up, we have
Okay.
King Richard.
Oh, shout out to Will.
Shout out to Will and his aching hand, his aching palm.
Was it worth the slap in your opinion?
I haven't seen this movie. I heard it was
Okay, me
fine.
neither.
Yeah.
All right.
I honestly will never see it. I don't really care.
I really also will never see it.
I
Yeah.
don't really care.
That's just
I-
the way. There's not enough time
No, there's
or
not enough
interest,
time.
frankly.
As an actor, love Will Smith. He was like very formative for me. I loved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, loved Independence Day, Men in Black.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness, actually, that was a movie where I was like, holy shit, he's really cooking.
He's
in this
out there.
one.
Yeah.
Don't care about King Richard. I'm not a Will Smith completist.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I'm with you. I'm right there with you.
Beautiful. I love when we can agree on stuff.
All right.
Directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, it's the story of how Richard Williams served as a coach to his daughters Venus and Serena, who will soon become two of the most legendary tennis players in history.
Who?
Who?
Who will they become?
Next up, we have Licorice Pizza,
Oh, wow.
a masterpiece.
Can I say it? Fine. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
I like it better than Coda. But I think they're also like kind of on par with each other in terms of quality. I don't think it's a masterpiece. Like I didn't leave the theater raving about Lick Pete's.
Gotcha. I love this movie. I think it rules. I mean, I get if you're like, yeah, it's fine. I don't really know what's so good about it. You know, everybody has their own flavors. I don't want to yuck. I don't want to yum your yuck, and you know,
Yeah.
you're not yucking my yum. That's why we're best friends.
Right.
All right. Paul Thomas Anderson. It's the story of Gary Valentine and Alana Kane growing up, running around, and going through the treacherous navigation of first love in the San Fernando Valley, 1973.
It's like a hangout movie.
Totally. It's such a good
Yeah.
hangout movie.
Yeah, those kinds of movies are always hit or miss for me.
Okay.
Like I don't I'm not always a huge fan of like if you create like a beautiful vivid world where we're just hanging out in, like I'm okay with that. But I never like to end up in the same place where we started. And I got that feeling from Licorice Pizza. Like I didn't get a whole sense of like immense development or change happened. It was more just like we were hanging out, which is fine.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Yeah. You want to hear the next one?
Yeah, I do. What
Nightmare Alley,
the hell's that?
directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, he did Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The Shape of Water.
Who?
An ambitious carnival man with a talent for manipulating people with a few well-chosen words hooks up with a female psychologist who is even more dangerous than he is.
Hot.
Kind of hot. I heard it was fine. I don't know.
Cool.
I'll
I'll probably never see it.
maybe I'll watch it. I'll watch it maybe one day.
All right.
We got two more.
Okay.
This was like my second favorite movie of this particular year. The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion.
Sick.
Starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Cody Smith-McPhee, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons. A domineering but charismatic rancher wages a war of intimidation on his brother's new wife and her teen son until long-hidden secrets come to light. Jane Campion won Best Director for this movie. It is a beautiful, funny, kind of, by the end you're like, this is kind of creepy. Western. It's like a masterpiece. It's amazing.
Western.
Yeah. It's on Netflix.
All right, I'll check that out.
I love it so much.
More than Licorice Pizza?
I think so.
Ooh, okay. All right.
I will say I think I'd be quicker to rewatch Licorice Pizza just because it's like so airy and nice. Power of the Dog. It's not like heavy, but it's not heavy. It's a little bit more of like a tougher drama, I guess I'd say.
Okay.
And finally, we have a movie nobody saw, but which is a 5-star masterpiece from maybe our greatest living filmmaker. I basically just referenced one of his movies. It is Steven Spielberg's West Side Story.
A movie that's
Why
been
aren't
done?
you cheering, dude?
Because it's already won Best Picture. Did it not?
It did. We're going to cover it eventually.
You can't win Best Picture twice. I'm sorry.
That's probably why it didn't win. Also, I don't
That's
think
a
it really,
DQ.
It didn't really leave a mark. Also, it stars alleged sex pest Ansel Elgort, which probably was a ding against the movie.
Is he a sex pest?
He's a sex pest.
That's tough to hear.
It's tough to hear. Baby Driver himself. And West Side Story, it's a Romeo and Juliet kind of retelling about two youngsters from rival New York City gangs who fall in love, but tensions between their respective friends build toward tragedy. I don't know. I recommend it. It rules. I was the only person in my theater when I saw it, and it was beautiful.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Those are the nominees.
Well, I love it.
Ander,
How you doing?
do you think CODA is Best Picture worthy?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't love it. It's not my favorite.
It's not your favorite movie?
It's not my favorite movie ever made. In fact, actually, I will offer to say if you're gonna go, it's a different movie. But if you're gonna go see this, if you're gonna go to theaters to see this, I think you should watch The Sound of Metal.
Oh, I haven't seen
If
The
that's
Sound of
worth
Metal.
anything at all, because I think Sound of Metal, like that movie shook me. It's about a completely different story, but like it does involve deafness. I think it has a lot more emotional impact and just feels more emphatic. I don't know. But Yeah, this movie's a little bit. Coda's a little sugary sweet. It's a little bit hallmarky. It has all those things. Blah blah blah. But you know what? If it can move you, if it can tell a unique story, then yeah, it's Best Picture worthy. Whatever that's worth.
I think I agree. Obviously there are movies this year that like I much preferred, but I think Coda. I didn't expect to have this take, but I am like, I don't know, like a movie about deaf characters like should be awarded, and I think that a movie that's like sensitive in the way this movie's sensitive. I don't know. It's a it's a group of people, a population of people that are, I guess, as far as I understand, underrepresented in media. So I don't know.
For sure.
I'm like, yeah, give
Yeah.
this movie the Oscar. If it'll get
More
people to watch
stories.
it and like think about that people are different from them and like have different experiences, then all the better.
That's valuable.
Yeah.
I think for just the sake of some conciseness, we spent a little time on the nominees. I'll read you one review that I found.
Okay.
And I want to read it to you just because it's kind of a bonkers take that's just really I don't want to code it for you. I just want your raw opinion on this. I haven't found another opinion of this ilk about this movie.
Okay.
May I read it to you?
It's 5,000 words.
It is long.
Okay.
It's not 5,000 words though.
Okay.
It is a 2-star review from our dear friend. Give me the name of a gentleman who was just I'm afraid struck by a meteor, a la Don't Look Up.
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger says 2 stars for Coda. This film is annoying as fuck, as it could have worked at least at least on a High School Musical level, but instead they chose to include a dumb libertarian fuck the government angle into one of the big plot lines. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care what kind of disability you have. If you willingly and knowingly endanger people by going into a dangerous field of work while being deaf without the appropriate assistance, then I'll be siding with the people who want to stop this endangerment from ever happening. The film knew what they were doing. They knew that deaf people can still do fishing under certain circumstances, but no, we need to make the government the bad guys. Why did they make the observer sent from the government be the snitch to call the Coast Guard? Those shitheads at the government take our money to help the vulnerable and poor by financing health care from those taxes that would also help deaf people as a result, by the way. How dare they? Fucking C-words these filmmakers are. This is actively helping the political aisle that are less likely to help vulnerable people like the deaf, and the Academy ate it up. Truly despicable. Politics aside, the family's cute. The romance subplot is cute. This film would be cute if it weren't Jordan Peterson's and Ayn Rand's wet dream. Unfortunately, it is, and I'm not willing to ignore it, none whatsoever.
This movie is Ayn Rand and Jordan Peterson's wet dream?
So,
At first I was like, oh, this guy's like, I don't know, like a MAGA guy or something. But then
no, he's not. He's like, he thinks this is like libertarian propaganda.
I don't even know what a libertarian is. I know fucking Bill Corrigan or whatever from Smashing Pumpkins is a libertarian. That's all I know about. Yeah. He's a libertarian. That's all I know about that.
Libertarianism is all about like very, very hands-off government. So
Okay.
like, I don't really know how that would tie into this. Even though this person does explain it, I'm not really seeing it. I guess they're pissed that they sent some government over. They're treating like government oversight as the bad guy in this movie, which it really is such a subplot, by the way. It's so, they're talking about the observer that they send to their boat and how that person is villainized. They're siding with government in the sense that like they're regulating their boat, which I understand, but also like, why are you so upset?
Thanks for that kind of confusing review.
Anytime, pal.
Next week we are talking about Kramer versus Kramer.
Just the mano-a-mano big title match you wanted.
The 1980 Best Picture winner. Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep. We're having Ryan back on to cap off his Dustin Hoffman trilogy.
The long-awaited finale to the Dustin Hoffman trilogy.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I'll have to pick another old guy like Robert Duvall or something. I don't know. Until next time, boil some hot dogs. They need to be boiling hot.
Okay.
Wear gloves because you'll probably burn your hands.
Yeah, got to.
You need to thread those hot dogs. So it's like razor thin thread.
Okay.
Do as much as you can because you're gonna thread them and weave as big of a net as you can. You're gonna make a meat net.
A meat net?
A meat net, dude.
Okay. What am I doing with this meat net?
Well, the fucking problem with you're not catching any fish is because there's nothing to entice them. You're just casting it to the middle of the ocean, and they're gonna avoid the next. They're like, I don't want to get got.
So I'm throwing boiled meat down there to the briny depths.
Okay. They're like, yum, 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 yum. They're gonna come into the net. You're gonna pull it, and you're gonna bring them all on board. It's gonna be perfect. It's gonna work perfectly. Meat net.
Shout out to the meat net, man. I think we really stumbled upon something here.
Yeah. All right, see you next week, Wieners.
1, 2, 3, 4. These boys only want the best stuff. They want the cream of the crop. They don't want none of that Michael Bay shit. They want the shit that bops. Oscar bait, black and white. Maybe something French. If it's got more than one explosion, honey, put that shit on the bench. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners. These boys are the Oscar Wieners. Oscar Wieners.
Somebody should be forced to be president. Like, people have said this, where it's like, the fact that people want to be president is suspect.
Because it's all egomaniacs.
Yeah.
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 If you want to get somebody who's not egomaniacal, you got to just make them. You have to thrust them
it's a
into
lottery.
leadership.
It's fucking Tim in Idaho. He's like, oh fuck. he's like, he just works in like an office. He's like, fucking shit. He's never thought about politics a day in his life. He's like, I don't fucking know. I'm not even registered to vote. Now I have to fucking be the president. That sucks.